Hello, I'm Seafood Source Editor Sean Murphy, and welcome to another edition of Seafood Source TV, the bi-weekly blog bringing you news and insights from the world of the seafood industry. Well, the May issue of our sister product, Seafood Business Magazine, is out, and the cover story is the Top 25, an annual listing of North America's top seafood suppliers. The companies on the list this year, which include Highliner Foods, StarKist, and Cook Aquaculture Company, brought in a total of nearly $13 billion in 2012. The annual listing is always a favorite in the seafood industry, as everyone's always curious as to who's on the list and how high up. But the list can also represent a good snapshot of the overall financial health of the seafood industry. And here to talk to us about that via Skype is Ignacio Kleiman. He's the CEO of New York-based, he's a managing partner of Antarctica Advisors, an advisory firm to a lot of the top seafood industry companies, including a number that are on the list this year. Ignacio, it's good to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's get right into it. Last year's top seafood suppliers, there was a strong trend of consolidation. Everyone was trying to collect together through mergers and acquisitions, and the trend this year seems to be leaning toward growth in multiple areas, not just in mergers and acquisitions. So is the merger and acquisition trend of last year, is it declining, do you think?
No, I think it's going to intensify over the next few years. I mean, there's a need for the industry to consolidate. Costs for smaller players are too high to become, to be competitive, and the trend will continue not only in the U.S. but globally.
Sounds like it's still kind of the momentum is still going from the mergers and acquisitions from last year.
Yeah, this is just the beginning.
Okay.
There's plenty of availability of funding out there. Many of the companies are in very good financial health. And they have been very cautious over the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years in terms of mergers and acquisitions. And I have a sense that we are going back to 2006, 2007.
So this actually is not necessarily an indication that there's anything wrong with the economics of the seafood industry. It sounds like just the opposite.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's a very healthy industry. And, it's an industry that is profitable, and it's an industry that has solid fundamentals. Primarily, ever increasing demand for seafood products. In addition to that, you have more, I would say, more competition from foreign players trying to get into the U.S. and trying to get hold of seafood resource all over the world.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, the role of the economy, often you'll hear of some companies kind of falling back on what they know works rather than trying to innovate or try anything different. And with emphasis appearing to be on the expanding of existing product lines, as we talk about in the article, what do you think that means when it comes to innovations? I mean, is that going to take a back seat this year and in the next couple of years, or do you think that that's going to ramp up as well as the mergers and acquisitions?
No, innovation it's always going to continue. In the upstream, you're trying to get better yields, more focus on sustainability and getting better returns on your assets. On the downstream, from what is closer to the consumer, in terms of prepared products and ready to eat and whatnot, there's going to be a continuation on search for quality, for convenience, and strengthening the brands. Obviously, companies will always tend to continue pushing the product line they have, but it's always a percentage of the product line that has to be refreshed and renewed and improved.
Okay. Well, one more thing. Highliner Foods, as you know, is one of the companies on the list this year. And Keith Decker is the president of that company. And in the article, he notes that mature protein industries such as pork and chicken and beef, they tend to be dominated by a group of some large major local brands, at least in North America they are, and that the seafood industry currently is, by comparison, he said it was, quote, highly fragmented, unquote. Do you think there's a need for that sort of simplicity in the North American seafood industry? And if so, do you agree with Decker when he says, quote, we're a long ways away from that in our industry, unquote?
I fully agree with Keith's view. I mean, we are still a long ways away from getting to a 3 or 4 player type industry. And one of the differences between the seafood industry and the pork, beef and chicken segments is that there is no one single seafood industry. There's many different species competing for that consumer dollar. They have different price points. They have different qualities. and they have different uses for the consumer. So that's what makes it also a little bit more difficult to have only 3 players dominating the industry completely.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, mergers and acquisitions, as you said, they're going to be continuing, but it sounds like there's going to be kind of a saturation point, if you will. At some point, there's going to be only so much that the industry can consolidate, because like you said, it's not going to get down to 3 major brands, at least not in America it won't.
Yeah, but the saturation point is years away. I mean, if you've been to the Boston Seafood Show or you've been to the Brussels show, you see that there are hundreds of companies there of different sizes, and some of them will become not as competitive in reaching the market. So those are going to be eventually consolidated.
Is it possible to know how much it'll consolidate? I mean, you said it definitely won't be to 3 major brands like we said, but is there any idea how many brands you think it would be, or is it impossible to tell?
I wouldn't think of 2 or 3 companies. I would think more in about a dozen companies. Mm-hmm. Many of the players in the top 25 list that you publish are going to be the consolidators, but I doubt that we're going to get to a point where we have 3 companies.
Okay. Okay, interesting stuff. Really appreciate this, Ignacio. This is Ignacio Kleiman. He's the managing partner of Antarctica Advisors. Ignacio, thanks for being with us once again.
Thank you for having me anytime.
And be sure to keep checking SeafoodSource.com every week, and keep checking back in 2 weeks from now for another edition of Seafood Source TV. And for now, I'm Sean Murphy, Seafood Source editor, saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you online.